All right, this is the first podcast for the FLEOA, Federal Law Enforcement Officers Association 111 project. For those of you guys that don't know, we started this project probably earlier this year to focus on training for law enforcement, to give them extra resources outside of what's offered at their current agencies. What's unique about the FLEOA 111 project is we don't just cater to our federal law enforcement. We believe that if you wear a badge, you bleed blue, we're going to be here for you. So whether you're local, state, federal, doesn't matter. You wear a badge. We want to give you the resources you need that'll keep you safe on and off the job. We also want to bridge that relationship between community and police relations, which we'll get into that, and some of the strategies that we've implemented with our partners, Street Smarts Virtual Reality, and some of the good things we're doing at our seminars. My name is Dave Balsamo. I'm the director of the Federal Law Enforcement Officers 111 project. This is Will. I'm going to let him do a brief introduction, and then we'll go ahead and get rocking.
Hey, I'm Will Bolton. I am the social media person for the FLEOA 111 project.
And so for our first episode, we're going to try to do these. Will and I will try to do one maybe once every month, see how it goes. We might kick up and start doing 2 a month, 4 a month, whatever. We want to bring in different movers and shakers within law enforcement and within the any community that helps us stay prepared as law enforcement professionals. That being said, our first guest today is going to be Larry Cosme. He's the Federal Law Enforcement Officers National President for our association. I'm going to patch him in right now. He's waiting in the waiting room. There he is right there. Larry, thanks for joining us.
Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for having me on here.
Appreciate it. Hey, can you give us a brief introduction of your background, who you are, and what you do?
Sure, absolutely. Well, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Larry Cosme, and I am the National President for the Federal Law Enforcement Officers Association. It's a non-for-profit organization that was formulated back in 1977 in the New York State area. And the reasons why this organization came about was because federal law enforcement officers didn't have union rights or any rights, basically any individuals representing their rights. So what happened was there was a group of individuals that came together and they met in the New York area and they formulated the Federal Law Enforcement Officers Association so that way it's a non-for-profit to defend their rights, as employees of the United States government, and also to advocate on behalf of the men and women in law enforcement, both on the legislative front and both on the agency front, to make sure that their jobs are better every day. I could add a little more if you want about my background as far as martial arts, if you'd like, Dave and Will. I can tell you a little bit about that.
Go ahead. Tell us a little bit about that.
We'll do a little freelance here. But by way of background, I am a 6th-degree black belt in USA Goju style of karate. It's a Okinawan-based karate formulated under Goju Ryu and under Grandmaster Urban when he was in the United States Navy. Back in the mid to late 50s, he studied under Yamaguchi sensei, and then brought it over here to the United States, and then formulated his own karate style system, USA Goju Karate. And then my sensei, Edward Doyle, who is out of New Jersey, started training with him back in the 60s, and then eventually opened up his own school, which they call dojo in Japanese. And then I trained with him starting back about 40 years ago, more than 40 years ago, because I will be 56 this year, and I was a young buck, like I was in 7th or 8th grade approximately during that time frame. So then I trained with him, and then years later I developed an interest, obviously because of the UFC, watching all the MMA stuff and watching the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Years later I trained in a little bit of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and then I formally became a student of Gracie, Charlottesville, Virginia, BJJ, about 2.5 years ago. And I am currently a blue belt under them.
Yeah, good deal. Yeah, you kind of you answered one of our questions we had for you about, who FLEOA is and the mission of FLEOA and all the good stuff that we've done. We'll move into the next question that we had for you. This is something that you and I, we started the 111 project earlier this year, but this is something we actually started kind of toying around with probably 2 years ago. Kind of talk to us, like how did this all come together? Let's hear it from your perspective.
Oh, sure. Obviously, you're well aware of this because you and I collaborated on this and we talked about it a lot, and we shot around a lot of ideas about what the 111 project can do as far as helping out the federal law enforcement community. And prior to all this talk about police reform, we were always trying to advocate on behalf of men and women in law enforcement to say, hey, these are the different tools that you can have at your disposal from an intermediary device in terms of before you go to the deadly weapon, resort to the use of deadly force, and obviously trying to stop a situation from escalating and try to de-escalate it or neutralize a threat. So then, but also in addition to that, we also wanted to make sure that this vision was all inclusive, not only in the martial arts, but also from a physical fitness perspective, to make sure that we gave those senior officers and agents the ability to maintain their wellness and health moving forward, both mentally and physically from that perspective. And that's what this project, regardless of any jurisdiction, this project, we're moving it forward. And you and I talked about it, getting it going pre-pandemic, and obviously the pandemic threw a monkey wrench into the whole thing. And then we're here today, and we're going to be moving hopefully into our third iteration of training in Washington, D.C. during Police Week, God willing.
Yeah, no, we had a lot of success. We did the first one here in Pittsburgh at Indio Dojo, just outside of Pittsburgh, and a lot of success there, a lot of positive feedback. We had our second one. We just finished up in Jacksonville. I think, what do we have? Maybe 30 LEOs there, Larry? About 30?
Approximately 30 yeah. Plus, almost reaching 40, which I was impressed at the turnout. It was good, great turnout. And I want to thank the Brazilian top team folks. And I want to thank the Indio Dojo, your dojo out there in Pittsburgh, Danilo Villafort, right? Is that the way you pronounce it?
Villafort, there you go.
Villafort,
yeah.
I want to make sure I pronounce it correctly. Yeah. But and Marcelo Burgo and then George, those guys down in Brazilian top team, they were phenomenal. And that's what it's all about, the community coming together, both from the martial arts perspective, the physical fitness perspective, and helping federal, state, and local law enforcement, do their job, and move forward in a meaningful way. And that way, with the risk of any substantial injuries or anything, and making sure that they're safe.
Yeah, no, you're making my job easy. You answered another question.
We can elaborate a little more. I love talking.
The one thing about the Jacksonville seminar, and I think it's kind of unorthodox with all seminars, I think everybody listening will agree, we had a food truck at this seminar. And, I kind of raised a little bit of eyebrows, like who has a food truck at a jiu-jitsu seminar? But we had one that came out, and, we got everything done that we needed to during the seminar. And our partner, Street Smart's virtual reality took over, and then everybody just went out there and was eating food, had a great time. It was great for camaraderie and just to get people talking about the project. And it was a great way to bring home a seminar. I think that might be a staple at for all our future seminars. I think maybe our one here we're doing during Police Week, we might have to incorporate that. What do you think?
I think that's a great idea. I mean, it's like I told most people. I said, growing up as a child, I always enjoyed eating, and I still enjoy eating, and that's why I always try to stay physically fit as much as possible. And I would always joke around as a child and said, "Feed my belly." That would be like an old ongoing joke I had with my parents, and I think that it strikes at the core of the camaraderie when you have. When you break bread with folks, whether you're in a training mission, whether you're on a job situation, whether you're out there working, in the trenches, it's important that, you have that time after a training session. And that's the feedback that I did receive. And I think I imparted that knowledge with you from the conversations I had after the fact, after the training. And the attendees told me that, during the food truck portion of it, where they were retrieving their meals. And, they were telling me that, for the most part, they usually train and they train for 2 hours and they take an hour break and they they run over to like a Wendy's or a McDonald's and grab a burger, and then they go back and train. And that was one of the portions of our training that they really enjoyed, the opportunity to to have a nice meal after the fact and enjoy that, and
Yeah, and
you talk to everyone after the fact.
we had a lot of highly qualified instructors there, black belts in
Yes.
judo, jiu-jitsu, local cops, staties, federals, big turnout. They volunteered their time. They came out. They really did a good job, put a lot into it. So a lot of good feedback there. And then, to bring it full circle, it was good to have the virtual reality piece there, which we did in Pittsburgh. We did in Jacksonville. We want to continue to do that, because that bridges that community police relationship. And we open that up to a lot of our civilian counterparts and the media. If they show up to these events, they get an opportunity to see what it's like for a police officer or law enforcement officer to make those split-second decisions by donning the actual virtual reality gear and being put into those scenarios. So, a lot of positive responses with these seminars, and we're hoping that we can get those out more often and be a little bit more strategic in where we're doing this geographically. We don't want it to be an entirely East Coast thing. We want to branch off to the left coast, West Coast, and help them out a little bit. So we're getting there. We're taking those baby steps, but so far so good. I'm very pleased with the feedback that we're getting from the participants that come, and even the instructors. A lot of at least 2 or 3 of the instructors said that by hands down, this is probably the top 3 seminars that they've been to. So that was really impressive. We're doing a big thing here within the law enforcement community by giving those tools and those resources. And you're right, it's not just about the defensive tactics or the less lethal concept. The physical fitness concept. If you're, especially for federal law enforcement, me being a former, actually all of us being former local law enforcement, that propensity to have to use less lethal was more prevalent. Once you go to the federal side, it's less likely that you're going to encounter that. And we're aware of that. That's why it's very important that you stay vigilant. And we need a project like the 111 to kind of be a catalyst to kind of prod and push people towards that. So they get out of that behind the desk mentality, keep their head on a swivel and stay vigilant. So doing good things. Will, do you got the next question there?
Yeah,
I do. You answered one, but other than the 111, what else is FLEOA doing?
Well, besides the 111 project, we also have Dr. Jean Kanikogi, who's one of our own. She's a member of FLEOA and also a federal agent, also in the federal law enforcement community, actively still working. She's also working the mental health front. Like I have Dave over here, Dave, our director of this 111 project, and you're doing a phenomenal job, Dave, with your team, and pushing this project forward, both from the physical aspects of the martial arts world, both from the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, karate, judo, Krav Maga. I always have a problem pronouncing that word, but just to make sure that we get that correct. I have Gene also tackling the mental health front, because everything is incorporated into law enforcement. You guys know, from being law enforcement professionals, all of us career law enforcement professionals, besides the physical aspects of law enforcement, you have that mental health aspect that you're dealing with all the violent crime, you're dealing with all these attacks, and that takes its toll, whether it's a physical attack, a verbal attack, or any type of attack. It takes its toll over time, and we want to make sure that we address this because of the high instance of suicide in law enforcement community, both on a federal, state, and local law enforcement. We want to tell everyone that you're not going it alone, and that's the FLEOA motto. And we always tell them, like, look, we're here to help you. We, that's the key word, collectively are here to help you, not me. It's all about we collectively to make sure that you're okay, and that's what we're also pushing forward, both from the legislative perspective. Dr. Jean has been very helpful, and Dave also from the physical techniques or control techniques on the law enforcement front has been very helpful. So that's also something we're working on.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Will.
So So, we talked a little bit about, FLEOA, the history of FLEOA, and, we're not the only association, I guess, or nonprofit that has skin in the game. But we do partner with a lot of nonprofits, and we are pushing some legislation, national FOP, et cetera. Can you kind of tell us, what are some of the things? It doesn't have to be specifically to the 111 project, but what are some of the legislative efforts that we're currently pushing? What are some that we've had that we've pushed where we've been successful? There's been a lot. So.
No, absolutely. I mean, one of the things that people aren't aware of with FLEOA, for example, we also advocate on behalf of men and women in law enforcement to advocate for pension reform benefits, where you have the ability to withdraw from your thrift savings program at the age of 50. Well, that was something that FLEOA advocated for with the help of a retired friend of mine, retired FBI agent Dan Jameson, who's an accountant. He came up, with that idea with us. And we collectively push that forward, where you have the ability at the age of 50, when you do retire after the age of 50, to withdraw monies from your thrift savings program without a prepayment penalty from the IRS. Those are examples of good things that we do as an organization to benefit the men and women in law enforcement. Another thing that we do, we also advocate for law enforcement coverage for all federal LEOs, because on the federal level versus the state and local level, you have many job categories of which you guys are aware of. I don't have to repeat all the job categories, whether you're an 1811, an 1801, an 0083, or an 0300 series, or an 1801 series, or an 18 different categories. So what we're trying to do is not couple everyone into one box, but basically think outside the box, but make sure that all those series have the ability and the same benefits for retirement that the 1811 cadre has. That way they could be afforded those same benefits down the road and have the ability to retire at 20 and out after the age of 50. Or, if you do 25 years of service, you could retire at any age. And that way they're afforded those benefits. So when you're working alongside those individuals, there's no animosity. Say, hey, well, you get better benefits than I do because you work for X agency. No, we're all in this together. We're brothers and sisters in blue. We're here to protect each other, and make sure that we go home at the end of the night. Those are an example.
No,
we push.
No. Those are good examples. I know from personal experience. I know usually during Police Week this last year, obviously due to COVID, that was delayed. I think we're going to do we got this. I guess you could say it's an abbreviated version here in October. But normally we get out there and we reach out. And we have a cadre of FLEOA members and presidents. Either it's a chapter president, agency president, or national presidents, and they actually meet with these legislative types, congressmen, senators, and their staff to push some of these initiatives. And we've had great success over the years doing that. And FLEOA offers a lot, not just to our members, but in terms of them, but helping the community and the communities they serve. We got a lot of chapters throughout the U.S. Do you know roughly how many chapters do we have right now?
We have about 70 chapters nationwide, and we have some chapters, international chapters, that cover U.S. embassies abroad, because obviously there's multiple departments in the United States that you have the Diplomatic Security Service, you have the FBI, Homeland Security Investigations, my old outfit, and other components that work overseas. And folks are, they're OCONUS, and we want to make sure that those folks are not forgotten also, besides the CONUS ones here in the U.S. And we have chapters overseas, too, that, represent those folks, too, to make sure that their interests are being looked after. And both from hazardous duty pay to, housing pay and all that good stuff. But, we're definitely advocating out there. And one of the things that we're pushing very hard, even that goes along with this 111 project, that I have been personally pushing for, because, like I said, I started in the martial arts early on as a child, and I think it's beneficial to every human being, not only law enforcement folks, but every human being. That's why I say that. And even for the families of the LEOs. I also had been advocating for, during this police reform talks, I've been advocating for the incorporation of on-the-job training, not only initially when you come onboarding, or you're getting that OJT, the on-the-job training initially as a new recruit an officer or agent, but also as a senior officer or agent within that department to have the ability to train, whether it's in the martial arts, realm, like BJJ, judo, Krav Maga, or any other martial arts, karate. That way, you have the ability to do that, or it's accessible to you, the agency or department that you work for. That's something I have been advocating for, to make it a part of the curriculum, for every Leo. That's one of my advocacy things I'm doing now.
Yeah, Larry, I know my agency affords us 3 hours a week of PT time. Do you know if that's an across-the-board thing, or is that something FLEOA is pushing for? Or I know my agency, as long as you're active, you just have to get it signed off on, and it's fine. But I was just curious if that's something you knew was across the board.
Most agencies try to allow you to do that, permit you to do that, as long as obviously you follow their policy guidelines. Like my agency allowed us to do that too, as long as they signed off on it and you filled out the appropriate paperwork. And obviously you had to participate and keep a log and all that stuff. But most agencies are willing to go with that as long as you get the proper approval mechanisms. But I also want to incorporate it not only with the agencies, but at the training academy level, both at the beginning stage, the intermediary stage, and the advanced stages of training. That way, for those folks that have never had a taste of any arts like ourselves, they have the ability to, say, okay, maybe I don't like BJJ or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but I do like the judo throws, and that's applicable to my body size. Or maybe I like the karate portion or the Krav Maga. Those are things that I want people to get a feel for and get the ability to do that within their agency, or if they go to an academy setting and their agency may have the inability to do so because, like, for example, some of the IGs have a smaller staff. They can go to like an academy or like some DHS component or DOJ component can say, okay, well, you can send your men and women to our training academy and we'll provide them that type of training or get an idea of what's available to them out there, whether it's at a training conference, whether it's at a physical academy like FLETC or Quantico, like the FBI DA Academy, or any other facility like Ortiz, New Mexico. We have some advanced training academies out there, and that's what we've been advocating for.
Have you guys reached out to any, say, FLETC per se, the physical techniques division? I might have just dated myself. I think it's.
Yeah, you're right. We've actually had some not formal discussions, but some folks there are associated with them. We've mentioned it to them. We have talked to them about the 111 project, and they're listening. And there's a good possibility now with the police reform. But everything obviously comes from the police reform. And when legislation goes into effect, it makes it that much easier to implement because then obviously it's a mandate from Congress or whether it's from the House or the Senate side. It also helps. And there's also federal grants that are being talked about where state and locals could utilize that also. And we could incorporate, in that process, where there's a federal grant, get the federal partners to partner up with the state and local folks, and incorporate training with any type of school. It could be the Nilo school or the Brazilian top team folks. We could bring them in. They have curriculums that they work on, and we could incorporate their curriculums into the federal sector, the state and local sector. Like I know the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, we were told, Dave and I recently, when we were down there training, that they incorporated into their curriculum. So that's the ultimate end game and goal for us as an organization.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, JSO is actually Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, very, very proactive. I think Marietta, Georgia, another local agency that's been very proactive. And I think the catalyst for us, one of the things that we notice is that, local agencies are going to have success, in various areas throughout a state. But ultimately, it's that state that has the overall say on whether or not, they can move forward or not. So having an all-inclusive curriculum for all 50 states is the goal. Highly unlikely, short term, long term, that could be effective. The benefit of FLEOA helping with this cause, and that's something we want. We don't want to advocate just for jiu-jitsu only or just judo or just whatever. There's the saying 100 ways to skin a cat comes to mind. There's a lot of different techniques out there. You can pull from a lot of different techniques, but I think everybody agrees right now something needs to change. There needs to be different avenues to provide training, and FLEOA is positioned in a good position to actually push that from the federal side and make it an all-inclusive, across the board benefit for our members in the federal sector. And that's what we're doing. We're trying to create avenues that make it easier for not just federal, but all law enforcement to get out there and train. But from a federal perspective, our HIP time, 3 hours a week. I know a lot of agencies do that. Some agencies will allow you to go out and do CrossFit. Some will allow you to go out and do a different martial art or whatever. So trying to make that a little bit more mandatory at all agencies, because I know not all agencies do that, whether that's a manpower issue that they have, or they just don't have a HIP policy in place. Some of the other things that have been mentioned, and I know we're going to circle back to these down the road, but actually using a thrift savings account to pay for your training. I don't even know if that's feasible, but that's been thrown out there. So there's a lot of different things that we can do, and we're just asking our membership and anyone watching, throw your ideas at us, throw it all against the wall. We'll see what sticks and what we can roll with. At the end of the day, we just want to make sure you're getting out of your chair and training and staying active. I mean, that's the main focus of the 111 project.
Yeah, that's the ultimate goal is to directly benefit the members and the law enforcement community. That's important, where they have a direct benefit, from the physical aspects of it, and both from protecting themselves, every day when they're doing their jobs. And I mean, I know from some insurance carriers do actually, health insurance carriers actually offer some benefits where someone can join a gym facility and train and do some physical technique stuff. Obviously we could also advocate on that front from a legislative way, where you can say, hey, some of this legislation could go towards those benefits and give folks the incentive to move forward, within their specific agency. And we could advocate, nationally, with these grants. And it's all in this police reform grant projects. It's in there. I've read some of it, and that's why I've been pretty vocal about it, because I know it's coming down the road. So I want to be very vocal about it, that this is a direct benefit to not only the law enforcement community, but the civilians that the law enforcement officers, he or she, are dealing with every single day.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, I appreciate your time. I know you're busy. This is a volunteer capacity for all three of us. It
Yes.
should be a full-time job for you, Larry. You'll probably get overtime with your volunteer job, because I know you put in a lot of hours, especially in the time of COVID, and especially with all the anti-police sentiment that's out there right now. So we know your hands are full. We know you're advocating for everyone in not just FLEOA, but law enforcement in general. And that's what I like about FLEOA as an association, is that, if you wear a badge, we're here for you. We all bleed blue, and we're looking out for each other. So I want to thank you for your time. Thanks for joining us. And also want to thank Street Smarts VR for partnering with us the last two seminars. Hopefully we'll be able to get them out to our seminar here in DC, actually outside of DC, Bowie, Maryland, on October 16th. We'll be posting that on our website here soon, so you can register at at FLEOA111project.com. And hopefully we'll have a food truck. I don't know. That was a big success, but nonetheless, we're going to have a lot of good. We're gonna have some good instructors there. Next podcast that we do, we'll talk a little bit about that once we get them solidified. So big thanks to our partner Street Smarts, also Brazilian Top Team. They were a big help with Jacksonville and Indio Dojo here in Pittsburgh for kicking off our first seminar. And Charlie Moore, he came in and did a phenomenal job with that first seminar. So want to thank him for helping with that. As we move forward, we have a broad reach within FLEOA. How many members do we have, Larry?
30,000 members now.
30,000 members. We also have a magazine we put out, 1811 magazine, comes out once a quarter. So anyone that's interested in sponsoring the 111 project or FLEOA, it's a great avenue to reach not only our members, but our subscribers, which are probably right around 70 to 100,000 with that magazine.
Yes.
If you'd like to have a seminar in your area, reach out to us on Facebook. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. I don't think we have a Twitter account.
No.
Just definitely Instagram.
There's YouTube.
We got YouTube. So reach out to either.
You're doing a phenomenal job. Well, I follow everything you guys do on the social media accounts, and you guys are rocking it. I appreciate you guys, all the volunteer work you guys are doing on behalf of the 111 project. You guys are rocking it.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. No, it's doing great. I think every day we're getting, a substantial amount of members and subscribers. So that's always good. So, if you want to have a seminar in your area, let us know, especially if you're in an area where we have a local FLEOA chapter. That could work. We could definitely make something happen for you. No promises, but we'll definitely put it on the radar and start trying to plan that. If you are an instructor in a martial art and you're a law enforcement officer, reach out to us if you're interested in instructing. Happy to talk to you and kind of explore some opportunities that you might have. Or if you're just, you want to help out with this project because you feel passionate about it, reach out. We can find a place for you. We definitely need all the help we can get. And finally, we've got a Fund the First project. We're raising money for the FLEOA 111 project. You can go to fundthefirst.com /FLEOA 111 project and provide a donation. So I want to thank everybody for the time. Larry, thanks for joining us. We're right at 30 minutes. So we're right there. So I appreciate it. Thank you. We'll chat next time, I guess.
All right.
Thanks.
Sounds great. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.